Andrew didn't understand what he was looking for, but he was sure that he would find something that would put everything in its place. His stepdaughter's behavior had alarmed him lately. Marie had become too secretive, always locking the door of her room, talking to someone on the phone, often going somewhere in the evening. Something was wrong, and Andrew had to find out what was going on behind his back. That night, Marie left home again. She said she was going to hang out with her friends, but Andrew didn't believe her. She was dressed very strangely, too brightly. She had never dressed like that before. The girl was hiding something, and her stepfather always considered hiding as lying. Andrew was raising Marie alone. He married her mother when Marie was only 7 years old. Andrew fell in love then and was completely immersed in the depths of passion. He was madly in love with Jane. She was gorgeous, smart, and seemed inaccessible. She drove him crazy, and he couldn't get her out of his mind. "I can't live without you." The man confessed his love to Jane, but she only grinned, looking at young Andrew, and shrugged her shoulders. "What love are you talking about? I don't believe in love for a long time now, especially when those words are spoken by men. Not all men are the same," Andrew said bitterly. He showered Jane with flowers, wrote her poems, and acted like the most romantic man on the planet. After a few months of pursuing, Jane indulgently allowed Andrew to court her, and then she let him into her life. Andrew knew almost nothing about his beloved's past. Yes, she had a 7-year-old daughter. Jane adored her and raised her alone, without a father. Who was Marie's father? Where this man had gone? What lurked in the past of his beloved? Andrew didn't know, and probably didn't want to know. Not because he thought the past wasn't important, but because he was afraid of her past. What if the man Jane truly loved was still there? What if the feelings the woman had for her first husband were the only true love of her life? Andrew would simply not survive that. The man didn't dare to propose to Jane for a long time. He was completely fine with the fact that his beloved had a daughter. Besides, the girl was quite friendly and showed no aggression towards her mother's new boyfriend. "Marie, do you think your mother will marry me?" Andrew once asked the girl nervously. Marie opened her mouth in surprise. "Andrew, do you really want to marry my mom?" the girl asked. "Of course I do. That's why I'm asking. What do you think? Will she say yes? I don't know. Maybe she'll agree, maybe not. Maybe she still can't forget Daddy." Those words, uttered by a child, stabbed Andrew in the heart. He was right to suspect that Jane still loved her first husband, Marie's father. Even the child realized that. Did she love him that much? Andrew uttered the words, sticking in his throat. Yes, she loved him. Marie nodded. Otherwise, she wouldn't have married him. After that short conversation with the 7-year-old girl, Andrew really thought about it. Now he wasn't sure if he should propose to a woman who might still be in love with another man. Besides, she was suspiciously often going somewhere, saying she was on a business trip. Once or twice a month, Jane would go to another city for work. But Andrew suspected that these trips had nothing to do with her job. Yes, Jane worked for a big cosmetics company that regularly sent its employees to various professional development trainings and courses. But why would an ordinary sales manager go to such trainings so often? Anyway, Andrew stayed at home with Marie, but he was very worried. Eventually, he couldn't stand it any longer and decided to talk to Jane. He asked her why she was so attracted to that city and whether she was traveling there to see her ex-lover. After hearing Andrew's words, Jane looked at him for a long time with an incomprehensible look, and then laughed just as long. "Andrew, I devnoli tvoje golov poi avalistiki strani misli." "Andrew, when did such strange parts occur in your head?" He frowned. "What else am I supposed to think? You're so cold with me. You go on business trips all the time, and you hardly ever call or text from there. What else am I supposed to think? For example, that I'm busy at work. What does that have to do with my ex-husband? He and I parted as enemies. He doesn't exist for me anymore." "Those are just words," Andrew muttered. "It hurts me to hear that," Jane said sternly. "Don't you trust me? Then why do we even live together? If you don't trust me, then why are you tolerating it all? Because I love you. I love you too. So I won't take offense," Jane concluded. "And just to let you know, my ex-husband lives in another country. So even if I go on business trips every day, I'm sure I won't meet him there. Andrew calmed down and then finally dared to propose to Jane. She said yes, and they got married. It seemed that everything was perfect. Andrew loved Jane, she loved him, and her daughter Marie was growing up in the family. Andrew adopted the girl, gave her his last name, and now she was officially considered Andrew's daughter, but she still called him Andrew out of habit. The spouses have long been planning to have a baby, but nothing worked out. Jane underwent one medical treatment after another. Andrew was also examined, but both were healthy, so the doctors didn't know what to say. In your case, I have no idea why you can't conceive a baby for so many years. Both of you are absolutely healthy. There are no problems on the female or male side, and you can safely have a baby. So, most likely, it's a psychosomatic problem. Maybe you need to let go of the problem, and everything will happen on its own. Honestly, I don't see it as a problem. Andrew said, I want to have a baby, but I'm fine with any outcome. And Jane isn't going crazy with grief too. She's busy with work. She's been promoted recently and now her job is taking up most of her time, so she's not focused on conceiving. Andrew was speaking for his wife, but he was constantly looking into his beloved's face and trying to sense her feelings. It seemed to him that the woman was constantly thinking about something else. Then he saw the anxiety on her face, but could not understand what it was related to, whether it was problems at work or the inability to get pregnant. Anyway, Andrew didn't like the way his wife behaved. He saw some strange things in Jane's behavior, and they seemed suspicious to him. Or maybe he was too mistrustful, continuing to be jealous and suspecting that she was hiding something from him. When a few years had passed since they had begun their unsuccessful attempts to conceive a baby in a natural way, Jane started talking about in vitro fertilization. I don't see any other options, and the doctors don't see any options either. Let's give it a try. I'm almost 40, and every year the chances of pregnancy are decreasing, and I can't leave you without children. It's too selfish. Andrew agreed, hoping that the birth of a baby would bond him and his wife. He wanted to have a biological baby with Jane so badly. The man was sure that their family life would definitely get better. However, when Jane was undergoing a thorough examination, the doctors diagnosed a tumor. Any pregnancy was out of the question. The woman was immediately admitted to the hospital and underwent surgery, followed by a long course of chemotherapy and then rehabilitation. Unfortunately, the process of fighting the tumor is too aggressive in terms of fertility. Jane's attending physician informed her with bitterness in his voice. After the treatment, having a baby is out of the question for you. Save my wife, doctor, Andrew pleaded. Everything else doesn't matter anymore. It took several years to fight the cancer. There were periods of remission and then relapses again. Tired of fighting the disease, devastated and already desperate, Jane lost all hope for the best and stopped resisting the disease. Marie's 16th birthday was the last birthday when Jane was there for her daughter. 2 months later, Jane was gone, and it was a shock to both Marie and Andrew. After his wife's death, Andrew suffered greatly. He was so afraid of being alone that he began to follow his stepdaughter's every move more closely, literally following her everywhere. Andrew, don't go crazy, please. Marie looked at her stepfather as if he were insane. I'm not going anywhere, I'm with you. I will not survive another loss, Andrew repeated. Your mother was the meaning of my life, and now you are the meaning of my life. You shouldn't make another person the meaning of your life. It's wrong. Try to meet someone, have a relationship. Maybe you can get married again, have a family, children. But Andrew thought it was unrealistic. For summer break, Marie asked her stepfather to allow her to go on a trip to another city with her best friend and her parents. Andrew worked a lot and he could not go with his stepdaughter. Marie managed to persuade him to let her go on a trip with her best friend. She almost begged Andrew on her knees to let her go to another city for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, Andrew called Marie several times a day, demanding a strict report on what she was doing, how and with whom she was spending time, what time she got up, and what time she went to bed. He was constantly nervous, thinking back to Jane's trips, and couldn't calm down. In the 6 months since his wife's death, Andrew had lost a lot of weight, looked much older than he was, and also became very nervous. It's impossible to live with you, Marie complained. You won't let me take a single step on my own. Stop controlling me. You're only making it worse. I'm worried about you. I'm afraid something might happen to you. Don't attract bad things with your farts. Andrew, let me live my life in peace. Andrew calmed down for a while, but when Marie told him about another trip with her friend, he got worried again. I'll go with you. Don't. Marie immediately became angry. We're big girls now. We can go on our own. I'm 17. I'm not a little girl. No, I won't be able to sleep or eat while you are away. Andrew. Marie raised her voice. I'm sick of it. Either you let me go on a trip with my friend, or I'm moving out. Andrew stared at his stepdaughter in fright. Moving out? Where? To a hostel. When I get to the university, I'm moving into the dormitory. Got it? Andrew fell silent. He couldn't let that happen. He fell silent, battling internally with his own fears. For 2 more weeks, he had agonized, suffered, worried, and since Marie's return, he sensed some changes in her. From then on, he began to notice that the girl behaved in a strange way. She went out at night to meet with friends. She had some new clothes and gadgets, as if someone gave her gifts, moreover, very expensive gifts. Andrew suspected the worst, but he didn't want to think about it. One day, when Marie had gone out with her friends as usual, he dared to go into her room. He began by searching the closet, hardly understanding what he was looking for. He searched for about 20 minutes, and then he found it. On the top shelf of the closet in some unremarkable makeup bag, there was a sock, and in the sock, he found money. A lot of money, several thousand. Holding the money in his trembling hand, Andrew wanted to scream with desperation. Did something he feared so much happen? Would he lose her, just like he had lost Jane? Everything inside the man clenched into a lump that made it impossible for him to breathe. He had barely waited for Marie. She came home as usual, still unaware of what was going on, and went into the kitchen to get a glass of water. Then, when she saw Andrew enter the kitchen silently, she flinched, nearly dropping the glass of water from her hand. Oh my goodness, Andrew. You scared me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But you scared me more. Me? Marie looked at her stepfather in puzzlement. How? I didn't seem to be back too late. I found something in your room. Andrew held out a sock to Marie, and the girl's face turned pale when she saw it. You searched my room. Why? It's humiliating. Her voice turned to a shout. Marie took greedy gulps of water from her glass and then poured some more. I'm worried about you. Where did you get the money? It's my money, and I earned that money the honest and legal way. I'm not a prostitute, if that's what you thought. I didn't think so. It wasn't true. But Andrew couldn't say otherwise. There's a lot of money here, several $1,000s. Where did you get it, and what are they for? The girl was silent. I'll find out anyway. Marie, you know that all secrets are revealed sooner or later, don't you? It's not my secret, she finally answered. Not yours. Then whose is it? Mom's. Everything turned upside down inside Andrew. Of course, he'd suspected for years that Jane had another man. That's why she went on business trips so often. There was someone who gave her money. Now Marie was getting that money. Andrew felt bad even though his wife had been gone for almost 2 years. She should have told him the truth before she died, so her conscience would be clear. What kind of a secret is this? A man? Marie shook her head. A man? What are you talking about? Mom has been faithful to you. Then what? Or who? Marie was silent for a moment, then answered softly. A sister. I have a sister. Andrew thought he'd misheard. What sister? How? Jane had never hidden from him the fact that she had a child. 1 or 2. Did it matter? He loved her and would have married her even if she had 10 children. But I still don't understand where you got that kind of money. Marie, Mom is no longer alive, but you and I are. Let's reveal all the secrets that are tormenting both of us. When I was 2 years old, Mom gave birth to another daughter. She was born prematurely at 29 weeks and became disabled. Dad left us, or rather, left us for a woman he'd been cheating on Mom with for a long time. Now he had an excuse to leave. Andrew looked at Marie, her voice shaking as she told the truth. Andrew had never imagined that his wife had a secret Jane was keeping from him. He needed to find out the reason she was hiding it. So, what happened next? Mom needed to support us, me and my sister, but there was no money at all. And then my grandmother, my father's mother, offered to help my mom. She realized that her son was to blame for what happened, so she decided it would be better if the girl lived with her. Grandmother Irma was a doctor. She had connections in medicine. Thanks to her, my sister was regularly examined and treated. But the treatment wasn't for free, so we still constantly needed money. Where did your mother get the money from? Andrew asked. My father was sending the money. He moved to another country and still lives abroad, but grandmother doesn't want to know anything about him and doesn't want to accept any help from him either. Mom used to receive money transfers and then bring them to Grandma Irma to pay for Miranda's treatment and rehabilitation. Mom told her that she had a rich husband, that is, you, and that she could afford her daughter's treatment now. Grandma believed it, and she still does. Andrew was depressingly silent. I understand that you feel offended, but Mom simply didn't want to burden you with her problems. Miranda doesn't walk, she's disabled, but she paints beautiful pictures and even manages to sell them on the internet. Mom was so proud of her. So, she used to travel to another city to see her child. Andrew finally asked. Yes, and I used to go to see her too. I used to bring them money and see Miranda. She's so incredible. She is so kind, gentle, so naive. Andrew, you know, I still don't understand why Mom decided to hide her from you. You would have understood. You would have helped. Of course, you don't have as much money as our father who suddenly felt guilty and started helping his daughter to pay for her treatment, but you would definitely accept my sister and become a father to her. I feel like Miranda needs a daddy so much. Andrew suddenly felt weak, his legs shaking. He had suspected his wife of cheating for so many years, suspected that she loved her first husband, but everything turned out to be so simple. There was just another Jane's child living somewhere who needed help and support. Weakness was replaced by an urge to act. Can I see Miranda? Andrew asked. Yes, I think so. I was just about to ask you to let me go there for spring break. Now I won't have to lie, and you can come with me. And Grandma wanted to meet you for a long time. But don't tell her the truth about the money. Andrew nodded. That night, for the first time in many months or even years, he slept well. Jane came to him in his dream. She was smiling and so beautiful in her favorite green dress with her hair loose. This was Jane that remained in his memory. This was Jane that he had fallen in love with. And this was Jane he would love for the rest of his days. Thank you, she said softly and sent him an air kiss. He woke up in the morning and felt his pillow was wet with tears. They were not tears of sadness or despair, but tears of infinite tenderness and happiness. Tears of kind memory of a beloved person who was no longer there, but who had left behind so many wonderful memories.